Hey folks, Matthew Weiss here, WeissAdvice.com and Weiss Advice here on YouTube. In this video, I want to be going over a new Boz Digital plugin called El Clapo. However, not just talking about the plugin, but also talking about a really important concept that I've seen up for debate. So let's talk about the concept first. The concept is about adding additional production during the mix phase. Now, I've seen some people say that the mixer's job is absolutely not to change the production, simply augment and enhance it. However, I've seen a lot of people say quite the contrary, that it doesn't really matter what your job title is, your job is to get the best result for the client. Now, if you look at the professional sphere of engineers, especially the top tier cats, most of those people are going to agree with the latter. It doesn't really matter what the job label is. People just want the best results. And if that means adding an 808, changing a sample, whatever, modifying something, replaying a part, so be it. It's been done many times, and I certainly am on that side of things. My feeling is that as long as you are able to properly understand the producer's intention and follow in that line of thought, nothing is out of bounds. As long as you do it with respect to the producer, do it, if the record needs it. Now, let's talk about Boz Digital real quick. If you've seen any of my videos, you know that I am a Boz Digital fan. I have been using the Hoser EQ as my go-to EQ on almost every session for years now, before they even had Hoser XT. I've been a huge fan for a long time, and I finally got them to sponsor a video. Yeah. So this is a paid video. Thanks to Boz Digital for sponsoring this, and it is about El Clapo. Now, with all of that being said, and thank you for your patience, let's get into the example here. I'm going to play a verse going into a chorus, and then I am going to add a single element. And at first, the thought is going to be, okay, what's the big deal? But at second, you're going to be like, wait a minute, this is actually adding quite a bit. So let's check it out. So sounds good, right? Now, let's bring in our new element, verse to chorus. Here we go. All right, so it's a crowd clap. Now, that one element is tremendously changing the effect of the record, right? We go from something where the difference between the verse and the chorus is in the musical layers, right? It's the musicality becomes richer and does it in a really beautiful way. Actually, I love this production. I think it's really well put together. But what I'm doing by adding this clap is actually adding dimensionality. The clap is really the vessel for the dimensionality, but I'm using it to create a space, a world for the record to live in. That's a very big philosophy of mine. When I mix, I think of the music video. I think of colors, I think of a universe, I think of dimension. That's a really important part of my process. So let me pull up El Clapo and kind of show you why this plugin is like way more than just a snap, boot, stomp, and clap plugin, right? Because on the surface level, that doesn't really sound like the craziest thing in the world, right? But it's actually really cool once you start digging into it. So let me get into the window here and solo this up, and I turn this stuff down, okay? There's some basic sounds in here. Right? Good sounding claps, stomps, snaps. Cool. Add a little bit of energy to it, bring a little bit more something special to it. The velocity sensitivity is really nice. If I put on the sequencer some light hits versus some heavy hits here, you can really hear that those velocity layers are really nice, right? You can get a lot of tone and texture just from that, right? So this makes this not just any kind of clap, snap, stomp generator. It makes it something that actually is really a step above, but there's something else that really makes this plugin special, and that is the dimensionality, right? This, in my mind, this is like a dimensionality plugin, in fact, and it uses stomps and claps and snaps. It's the size, the slop, and then the rooms. That's what brings this to like really good to magical. Okay. So the slop thing is like if we picture a crowd in a room and they're all clapping to the beat or stomping to the beat, how together they are is going to shift quite a bit. So let's turn up the size of the space. Let's get a bigger sounding space here, and let's just play this with zero slop. Okay, right? Everybody's together. It's one sound. Now let's play this with the slop turned way up. Now everybody's way off beat. But if we find a sweet spot, we can get something that sounds like a really realistic crowd clapping that are like all on beat, but there's like those little micro millisecond differences between everybody. There we go. Found it. Right? That's almost like a very realistic sound of a large group of people clapping. And then similarly, we can use these mics to get something, say, maybe further away versus closer. Right? So now we've got something that really sounds like an arena of people clapping along. Why does this matter? Well, because if we can create that dimension where there's something that's far away and wide and spread, and we couple it with a lot of sounds that are tight and close, then we can create a really beautiful three-dimensional image. And that's exactly what I've got going on here. If I go into the actual instance of El Clapo that I used, you can see that I've got the size turned all the way up and the slop turned right around that 40% range. So I'm trying to create the sound of like a really expansive, packed concert venue where everybody's clapping and they're more or less on beat, but there's like little differences between them, and it's a very big space. And then likewise, I've got the close mic turned down a little bit to push the sound back because I've got that main clap that's already in there. So let's just hear that real quick. Let's listen to the main clap and you'll hear how forward and tight it sounds. Right, it's like, it's right here. It's very tight forward sound. Now, as soon as I add this sound, I get that whole room, that whole expanse. The reason why I think this is so much more powerful than just going through samples and finding the right sample is because I actually was able to customize it in real time after sequencing the MIDI in. I could dial it in and be like, okay, let's make it a little sloppier. Let's turn the size up or turn it down. Okay, let's bring the close mic a little closer, too close, a little further back. All that kind of stuff I can do in real time, and I can listen to the rest of the record. This is what allows me to do it with the producer's intention in mind, which is so important. So I'm listening to the record while I'm tweaking these settings and even tweaking the pitch a little bit, which is not to tune it to a note exactly, but to just match the timbre a little better, you know, going up into a slightly higher range because it's a brighter record. All that kind of stuff in real time. And it's the same thing with all these other parameters, right? I'm able to EQ the samples in real time. I'm able to change the dynamics a little bit in real time. I'm able to just adjust that room tone a little bit in real time. And so the net result is it's as if I found the perfect samples to lay under that clap, except I didn't have to do it from a sample, right? I didn't have to go find it. I made it with the track. So after that, a little bit of imaging just to widen it out a little further, and then the Boz Digital Hoser, where I'm taking out a little bit of the low mids because the track just overall has a very bright curve, and I wanted to match that. It was the right timbre of clap. I just wanted it to lean a little bit brighter overall. So there we are, taking out some low mid. There's one other thing that I want to show here, which is that this sequencer is really nice. I did this from MIDI. When I did it from MIDI, I played it in live and quantized, but I didn't quantize to 100% because I wanted the clap to kind of feel a little bit behind. Like the El Clapo clap, I wanted to feel a little bit behind the main clap, the sample clap that was in there. And I wanted to do that because that would add to the sense of dimensionality. So it's like 40 milliseconds behind, something like that, like just far enough behind where it feels like the pocket is wide, if that makes sense. And that helps create that sense of distance and dimensionality. So I did it from MIDI. But if you don't want to do it from MIDI, there's some advantages. This velocity programming is super accurate. So you can get exactly the sound you want in the sequencer, and then you can trigger the sequencer, to start from automation. And that can also be a very, very useful approach. Not the way that I did it this time, but definitely something that I would consider doing under the right circumstances. So, okay, very, very cool plugin. Definitely way deeper than just a clap generator. It's so much more useful than that. I hope I communicated these ideas really well, that both El Clapo is an amazing plugin, the whole Boz Digital line is amazing plugins, and that also the mentality of changing the production or adding to the production is something that's still in the wheelhouse of an engineer. Now, if you disagree, you are welcome to disagree. I would love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments section. You know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a reason why mix engineers should be completely hands off of the production. If you feel that way, I would love to hear why. If you have a favorite Boz Digital plugin, I'd love to hear that as well. So let's wrap this video up. If you dig this video, hit that like button. If you want to catch more videos like this, hit subscribe with the bell notification so you get notified. And lastly, you know what we say here at Weiss Advice. We are musicians, sound is our instrument, and I will catch you next time.